Chief Alex Duduyemi, Chief Olufalomo, Dr. Biodun Shobanjo, OON, advertising guru, who started his career as a broadcaster, was the esteemed chairman of the occasion.
When he started, it was tough, and I remember in those very early days, what started as something that he had a passion for, covering stories, going there with a cameraman, and editing 5-minute stories, and thankfully people like Raymond Dokwesi allowed him to put this on his station. And also, I think NT also obliged him. He started. And before long, people started prodding him to say, look, this could actually become a commercial proposition. And also, I can tell you that BC employs directly and indirectly hundreds of Nigerians, creating employment, growing the economy of this nation. And if only half of Nigerians who have the opportunity can do what he's done, which is creating employment and creating value in the process, this country will be a greater nation. So BC, and without wanting to waste the time of our audience, I want to congratulate you on this 20th anniversary of yours and wish you many more successful years ahead.
As for the traditional institution, we will remain eternally grateful to the Oba of Lagos, His Royal Majesty Oba Rilwan Akiolu, who was represented by most definitely the largest number of the white-cap chiefs at any event, with a robust gift to us. The Oni of Ife was represented by the Ashoya of Ishoya, Ile-Ife, Oba Moreno Adedini, who, by the will of God, celebrates his 15th coronation anniversary on the throne this year. This is ahead of the 10th coronation anniversary on the throne of the Oni of Ife, His Imperial Majesty, Oba Babatunde Enitan Ogunwusi, which comes up in December 2025. Other royal fathers that honored the BOS at 20 in 2019 were His Royal Majesty Oba Lateef Atonda Adams, Onikate of Surulere Kingdom in Lagos State, Oba Francis Alao, who came all the way from Oyo State, and one of the biggest fans of the Bisi Olatilo show, who became a long-standing friend of the Biscon family. The late Oba Adelekon Idowu Basibo, the Alakperu of Ikperu Kingdom, Ogun State, who passed on earlier this year. We also remember with a lot of regrets, but thanks to God for the great life of the late Are Dr. Bolu Akinolubade of Owu Kingdom, Ogun State, who was also a very big fan of BOS and very strong friend of the Biscon family.
Let me thank God for making today, about which I have fantasized for a long time, a reality. I thank God for giving me the knowledge and wisdom for this accomplishment so far. The occasion of the celebration of the 20th anniversary of the Bisi Olatilo show gives me a unique opportunity to reminisce on the twists and turns that I have successfully navigated to attain the great feat you're about here to celebrate with me. How the Bisi Olatilo show brand was conceived, birthed, nurtured to full maturity, and now launched into an enviable distinction. Today is a day especially set aside to honor all those who have played a significant role in the checkered story of my life, dating back 40 years and counting. And I thank my wife, Mrs. Folashade Olatilo, and my children for their sacrifice and time which has kept me going in the last 45 years in the noble broadcasting profession that I've chosen.
As we look forward to the unflinching support of our friends in the music, fashion and entertainment space in the forthcoming double celebration of May 13th, 2025, We say a very big thank you to all those who honored BOS at 20 with their awesome God-given talents, with which they held the event spellbound. For honors, Ara, Africa's first female talking drummer and percussionist of note. Ego Kimono, the extremely talented daughter of the late king of reggae music, Ras Kimono, of blessed memories, who is fast building on the legacy of her father. How about Sonny Neji, whose brief appearance on stage was so electrifying that kept everyone dancing for a very long time? However, BOS and Biscon's most admired artist, Sugar Band, which has always been there for us, showed up big time at the BOS at 20 event in 2019. And we are sure Sugar Band will honor the event this year. Another great supporter of the BOS and Biscon TV indefatigable backbone, whose presence was conspicuous throughout the BOS at 20 event, was Engineer Chief Raymond Dokwesi, founder of Dark Communications PLC, who was there with his wives and a very strong team from Dark Communications PLC. May God bless him.
The three issues that were this evening launched, that is the Biscon Television, the foundation, and this 20th anniversary. May God bountifully bless them. BC has been a pillar of entertainment in Nigeria. BC, like every one of us, without any silver spoon, started the very hard way. We thank each and every one of you for coming. Biscon, we are very grateful for this honor, and we wish you quite a lot of success in the years ahead. Thank you very much.
Chief Gabriel Igbenedion and Sir Kessington Adebutu were very adequately represented by their children, who received their awards for them.
We're here this evening as part and parcel of the family of the BOS group. Indeed, Bisi Olatilo is part and parcel and the son of the house of Igbenedion. And my father wanted me to say out loud and clear that he is blood in the family. And looking at the crowd today, he is somebody that crossed across. When you look at the crowd, you think that it's all to do with all the oldies but goodies. But BC is a man that cuts across the divide. BC is a man of entrepreneurship skills that's able to bring everybody together, both the youth, the young, and the old. And on this auspicious day, we want to say a big congratulations to you. More grease to your elbow. And may you continue to strive and lead the way in entertainment. A big congratulations, my big brother, Bisi Olatilo.
We also thank Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu for his great support for us during the 2019 edition of the BOS at 20 event, as we look forward to his esteemed presence to grace the event this year. As for His Excellency Alhaji Gboyega Oyetola, who was the governor of Osun State at the time, he bent over doubly backwards to support the event, which he publicly claimed with pride that the Bisi Olatilo show is the product of a great son of Osun State, Prince Bisi Olatilo.
I'm elated and honored to be invited as a guest and an awardee at this momentous event of the 20th anniversary celebration of the Bisi Olatilo show. I congratulate Prince Bisi Olatilo, his lovely family, and the crew of the Bisi Olatilo show on the 20th anniversary of an initiative that has transformed into a brand and a household show. It is instructive that Bisi Olatilo thought it fit to reward brand loyalty by rewarding 50 individuals who have stood shoulder to shoulder with the Bisi Olatilo brand. I am proud to be the governor of a man whose life preaches the government's message that entrepreneurship is the way out of the challenges of this country and youth unemployment. BC, I celebrate you. You are a man who typifies the Omaluabi ethos of industry, innovation, integrity, and hard work. I thank BC for the privilege of the award of BOS Special Award for Good Governance conferred on me today, even as I assure him that the elements that qualified me for this award today shall be improved upon to catapult his dear state to uncommon heights that his children will be proud of.
We thank most profusely my younger cousin, His Royal Highness, Oba Adegboyega Famodu III of Igbajo land in Osun State, who was recently confirmed as the authentic Owa of Igbajo land by the courts for making the strong push that connected BOS with former governor of Osun State, now Minister of the Blue Economy, Alhaji Adegboyega Oyetola. As we end this package, let's assure all our esteemed fans and followers that the double celebration of the 13th of May 2025 at the Muson Center, Lagos, will be the best show ever packaged by us, by God's grace. The awards to be taken away by deserving personalities who have supported the BOS and Biscon brand over the years are well thought out. These include BOS Ultimate Supporters Award, Good Governance Award, Symbol of Democracy Award, BOS Pillar of Support Award, which Chief Raymond Okwesi won last year and will still be given to him posthumously. Other prospective awardees at the event this year are Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State and Governors Doye Diri of Bayelsa State and Governor Hope Uzodinma of Imo State and the FCT Minister, Barrister Chief Nyesom Wike, who have gone over and above in terms of infrastructural developments in their areas of commands. However, the biggest awards of the Bisi Olatilo show this year go most deservedly to the number one citizen of Nigeria, His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR, and Nigeria's First Lady, Her Excellency Senator Oluremi Tinubu CON, who has been on her feet, traversing all parts of the country, north and south, helping her beloved husband to deliver the renewed hope message, which is bringing a lot of succor and empowerment all over the country. We are blessed with very committed friends of Bisi Olatilo as members of the planning committee to help deliver the message to all those concerned. The committee will be coordinated by Her Excellency Olori Dr. Mrs. Nike Akonde CON and former Governor Donald Duke of Cross River State. Please pray along with us and see you there. Ladies and gentlemen, history is about to be made. A legacy of excellence, 5 decades of broadcasting brilliance, and 25 years of an iconic brand. Prince Bisi Olatilo stands tall as a trailblazer in the media industry. Join us on Tuesday, May 13th, 2025 at the prestigious Muson Center, Onikon, Lagos, as we celebrate Prince Bisi Olatilo's 50 remarkable years in broadcasting and BOS at 25. An unforgettable event awaits, featuring an insightful lecture, a prestigious award presentation, and the grand unveiling of the Bisi Olatilo Foundation, an initiative dedicated to impact and empowerment. Be part of this milestone moment as industry leaders, dignitaries, and well-wishers gather to honor a man whose voice has shaped generations. The time is 11 a.m. The place is Muson Center. The celebration is legendary. Prince Bisi Olatilo at 50 in broadcasting and BOS at 25. Raising the bar, setting the pace, and inspiring the future. See you there.
to his name, O Most High, to declare your loving kindness in the morning and your faithfulness every night. That you, Lord, he shall grow like a cedar in Lebanon. Those who are planted in the house of the Lord shall flourish in the courts of our God. In old age, they shall be fresh and flourishing, to declare that the Lord is upright. He is my rock, and there is no unrighteousness. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Who is like unto you, O Lord? In heaven above, on earth and under the earth. And Lord, we give you thanks that in your mercy you have preserved the lives of your children, and especially your servant, Emeka Yedioha, who this day mark his 60th anniversary. Lord, as he comes to the throne of mercy and upon this altar, we lay this life before you. First, in thanksgiving for who you are and what you have been doing in his life and what you will still do. You have guided him through his youth. You have preserved him to this age. And Lord, as he numbers his years, help him to apply wisdom in the way he lives. That the race of his life shall be guided by you, and great things shall be done by your awesome hand in this life. Lord, upon this altar, we surrender him to you. We offer him back to you. And this day we make a covenant with you by the blood of Jesus Christ. And as the service says, it is good to give you thanks. And Lord, to praise you in the morning and to worship you by night. But above all, that you have anointed him with fresh oil. And so this day, be thou anointed of the Lord. In the name of Jesus Christ. That your life be precious to the Almighty God. For he has spoken, touch not my anointed, and to my saints, to my prophets, do no harm. No evil shall befall you. No weapon of the enemy shall not against you shall ever prosper. And every tongue that will rise up against you at judgment will bring them unto condemnation. For this is the right of those who put their trust in the Lord. And so this day, the Lord will build the hedge of fire around you. As you grow older, may you grow wiser. As you grow older, may his outstretched hand be upon you, to bear you up and to guide you. This day, you are planted by the rivers of waters. You shall draw strength day by day from the Lord of glory. And remain with you now and forevermore. Amen. The Lord be with you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy
I didn't want to disrupt the program of food. I didn't want a special service. But I thank His grace. Our primates from Mama Nigeria. I only called him on Friday to welcome him back to the country and to ask about his program. And he said to me, I will oblige you. I will pass words to the vicar to be with us for this service. 7 a.m. service is supposed to be an inconveniencing service. And they were deliberate because I am shy of crowd. I'm shy of crowd. So I said we'll do it small. So that after we have breakfast, those who are not very busy can join us at home. Tomorrow is the big day. I have a couple of programs, events, which by the grace of God, I expect some very senior Nigerians to be part of. I started with our colloquium at Sheraton Hotel. That's what we know. Abuja Intercontinental by 10 a.m. and later on the dinner. So tomorrow is the fully packed day. So today is supposed to be a preamble. But this is more than a preamble. If the primates of all Nigeria and his dear wife are worshiping with us, and the vicar that clapping will not be celebrating. The vicar of vicars, our old vicar. The only vicar that will command everybody except the primates. Our problem, this is how we do it here. So from time to time, we stand, sit, and nobody complains. And we're happy. So we thank all of you. I wouldn't go on mentioning names, but I want to welcome my senior brother, our governor, Ikechi, Hakim, my leader. And sir, I'm returning you back to the vicar, Venerable Dr. Idume. I hope you will let him go back today. And today, incidentally, is the wife's birthday. So he's returning his wife here. And he told me, Emeka, you deserve all the honor I honor you. And my brother indeed, Governor Lely, okay, whose idea it is that I'll celebrate our Mat on my sister. Truly speaking, I never contemplated this big celebration. When Leah said, Emeka, it's time to celebrate you, we celebrate others. And then it began. So everything that you see from now, by he fixed the Thanksgiving today. And
Lord, you have set the boundaries of our nations.
Hello, folks. I greet you. Welcome to another program in the series Newspaper Headliners. So the papers are here. We'll make to share the headline stories with you, just so you give context to it. So I am Jones Hussein, but let's meet and greet my co-anchor, Barrister Fred Nzako. Mr. Nzako, I greet you, sir.
I greet you, Jones.
Yeah. So the first paper.
Baraka de Salah.
Thank you. Thank
to
you.
you and to all our Muslim compatriots.
Yeah, and viewers too. And as we say, as you pray for, you pray and thirst for righteousness. May every of your wish for self and country come true.
Come true.
Okay, the first paper here is this day. It leads with this: Tinubu, Nigeria is greater than any of us, including the president, urges brotherly love at Eid al-Fitr.
Absolutely.
Okay. There are some writers here. Says, power is temporary, trust from God. He hints he warned Wiki he'd lose his job if his development initiatives were tilted towards helping PDP. And Atiku governors others greet Muslims at Eid.
Yes, just like we also greet Muslims. This is a season of love, season of celebration, and season of remembering that our country is greater than every one of us.
Yeah.
Because every mortal will go, but the country will remain.
Yeah, but even in the same vein, the Christians are still observing Lent.
Yes.
Which is some days left to go. There's an advertorial on the front page of this day, coming from the President Chief of Staff, Femi Gbajabiamila, ode to Mr. President, a master of his craft. So, see it. All right. How about this? 9.33 trillion naira owed federal government by oil firms can offset 72% of 13 trillion naira 2025 budget deficit.
Yes, it's very surprising that oil companies, especially international oil companies that are into oil prospecting and oil exploration, will be owing the country such a huge amount of money. It's so much, over 9 trillion naira. That's a lot of money.
Oh yeah.
And I understand that the House of Rights Committee just recovered a paltry $14 million. You know, $14 million from the oil company. So that means that what Nate is saying has a lot of credence.
Yeah.
I think that should not be tolerated. We need every money that we can get for our national development.
Why not? The next paper, The Nation, the lead story, remains steadfast. Tinubu tells Nigerians. VP and President observe Eid prayers in Abuja.
Oh, sure. The season of Eid, today, tomorrow, public holiday.
Yeah.
Observe Eid, time to reflect on our nationhood, and time to also reflect on our humanity.
Yeah.
Because the humanity in Nigeria seems to be drifting.
Okay.
So there's every need for everybody to have a thorough introspective reflection on our collective humanity.
Okay, there's a picture story on the front page of The Nation. Shows Madam First Lady Oluremi Tinubu to the left of the paper, and then Mr. President himself, Bola Tinubu, to the right. President Bola Tinubu's exceptional performance is supported by the strong evidence provided below. Take a look at it and judge for yourself. Now, the next paper is the Nigerian Tribune. It is here. What I just told you about Mr. President is replicated in the Tribune on the front page. So sort it. But away from that, you hear Wiki. We removed FCT from TSA. Treasury single account to speed up development, according to Tinubu.
Well, the implication is that if government is saying that the TSA is a cog in the wheel of national development,
Yeah.
so why still retain it? So why are we doing selective retention of TSA? Now, why are you lifting TSA from the
FCT?
From the FCT. So if what is good for one ministry should be good for another ministry.
Yeah.
So if government has because look, one thing with policy is you evaluate policy from time to time. If there's a critical evaluation of the TSA and it is found to be impeding the speed of our development, then we should do away with it
and move on.
All
right. Uromi killings. Emir of Kano calls for justice as CDS vows collaboration to fish out killers.
All the security agencies must collaborate. You don't leave this to the police alone, because the killing is one that raised a lot of emotions in the land, and that is why every right-thinking Nigerian has condemned it. So the perpetrators must be brought to justice. But most importantly, we must look at the root cause of this. Nigerians need to be educated and learn to keep away from jungle justice. Mob justice, because they say that the mob is usually mad.
That's why it is the mob.
And that is why it's the mob. So there's no way we will continue to tolerate mob attack and jungle justice.
Mob justice is not constitutional.
It's not constitutional.
Okay, we are told PFN condemns killing, demands justice for victims, just as Edo governor suspends security chief and illegal vigilante. Did you see that coming?
Was the vigilante illegal? That's the question.
That's what the paper is saying here.
It would be unfair to tag them illegal. Yes, their activities and their action may be unconstitutional or unacceptable, but it doesn't mean that the vigilante is illegal. We'll be asking that we should touch our constitution so that we have state police. So that the formal structure will be bold enough to protect the lives of the people. And then the people in authority are dragging their foot with respect to the issue of state police. And virtually every state is using one form of vigilante or the other. So when they now
to augment what the state should
So when they now do the wrong, you don't begin to tar them with the dirty brush and call all of them illegal. They are not.
Okay.
Their activity may be wrong.
Of course, Brother Fred, we cannot forget the Alufo killing. Preventable.
Absolutely.
But I don't know if you feel as scandalized I am. While the mob justice is going on, some people take delight in filming the
it has become the terrible thing about, you see, our people is abusing technology. That's just
because technology was supposed to aid and help man.
But the way we're using it here is an abuse. That when people are in danger and they need help, instead of the citizens, their fellow citizens, to offer help, they are more interested in being
the first to upload,
being the first to get the film, being the first to upload, as if
you get a medal
for it. So these are part of the education that we need to give our people.
All right, the Daily Trust is next, and it talks still about Uromi killings. Families seek justice, shares victims' last moments.
Very emotional. The victims must be given justice.
I particularly read about two of the guys who escaped the lynching. They had gone in advance of the party. And so when, remember they were going to River State when Wahala came across and so on. So what do you call it? Nature intercedes sometimes.
It is a wake-up call to government, especially our security agencies, to ensure that every life matters. Every life matters. And anywhere there is a termination of illegal, unlawful termination of life, government security agencies must step in and do the needful. And not selectively handle some and ignore others. Because when we fail to do what is right, we will keep getting what is wrong.
After all, government exists for the protection of the citizens, not the other way around.
Absolutely.
Here, there's an editorial on the front page of the Daily Trust, this time from High Chief Government Ekwemupolo, Tompolo, you know, Tantita Security Services Nigeria, great Mr. President.
Yes, it seems that all the president's men who have opportunity to dine with him on the table in Asorok are greeting him copiously. All the papers are washed.
Okay.
With Mr. President's greeting. He's okay. We are happy. Our president celebrated his 73rd birthday. Let me use this opportunity to wish him well.
Yeah.
And wish him happy.
I wish him well too.
Happy birthday.
Even though as a senior by 2 years.
Yeah.
No problem.
Oh, no problem.
Leadership paper is next, and the lead story. Muslim faithful celebrate Salah amid tough times.
The tough times are...
Show love to the vulnerable. That's from Mr. President. Atiku, Obi, governors, others preach peace and unity. And CAN sues for religious harmony.
These are normal rituals. Every time there is this nationwide celebration, political leaders will always dish out such statements. But the question is, what do they do beyond the statements?
Yeah.
How well do they show love for the people by ensuring that the country is well run, so that Nigeria will be a better living place for all? That is very critical.
Okay, minor pieces on the front page of the leadership include reps recover additional $14 million from 4 oil companies. We talked about it.
We talked about it a while ago.
Yeah.
They should go further and recover more. There's a lot of money out there to be recovered. While we are owing 13 trillion deficit in our budget, we cannot allow anybody to owe us unnecessarily. Especially those who are in the oil industry.
All right. CDS condemns killing of 16 hunters in Edo. Can we ever run away from it?
Very condemnable.
And this one. NDLEA naps Lekki big boy over drug shipments. Don't ask us who the big boy is. Get a copy of the leadership paper, swat it, and know the story. I'm happy. Tinubu has confidence in me, Wike.
Of course. I always have confidence in him. Made him a minister, overindulged him, and then even praised him publicly. I think for all the ministers of the present regime, Wike seems to be the one at the innermost part of the president's heart. What is going on between the two of them, only the two of them know. But there is a lot of confidence, in between the two.
You think?
And I think it goes beyond mere politics.
You think Wike is a political gadfly?
Well, to a large extent, he has proved himself before Mr. President to draw Mr. President into an accolade. It's something that is a very serious one.
Yeah. Hear this. Federal government mobilizes pension funds to finance 5,000 kilometers of roads.
Provided they don't mess with pensioners' money.
Okay.
Provided that caveat must be there. Provided pensioners are paid as and when due.
Yeah.
Because this idea of holding one's pension is a sin. It's a moral sin and a consumer crime. A laborer deserves his wage. Don't go and use the people's pension and tell us you have used it to do the road.
All right. How about this crazy one? Nigeria records 118 Lassa fever deaths, 645 cases in 33 states.
It's a pandemic.
Lassa fever, we're told, are carried by rats.
Yes, yes. It's a very serious.
So how did we get here?
It's a very serious case. That's why I call it a local pandemic. 1,181 cases. Jones is a large number. And we should, that tells you that one, the level of hygiene in the country is low. Two, the level of healthcare facilities, especially at the primary level. Because when it is not arrested at the primary level, by the time the people are transported to the secondary or tertiary facilities, a lot of them would have lost their lives. So
often you hear
for us to have over 1,181 deaths, not incidences. That means there are cases that would be up to 10,000 cases.
Many times you are told a victim was BID, brought in dead.
Brought in dead. So that tells you that we need to do something about our healthcare facility.
How about this? Still talking about a harvest of deaths. 1,700 die in Myanmar earthquake.
Very unfortunate. Earthquake is a natural disaster. Nigeria is lucky we don't have such, and we should always sympathize with those who suffer earthquake. Myanmar, Haiti, and countries around that region.
Yeah.
Their ground is
Thailand.
Their ground is sometimes Japan. You know, so while we sympathize with such countries, we have to ensure that we don't cause human earthquake for ourselves. Because 1,700 earthquake, 1,181 in Nigeria on Lassa fever. So what nature saved us, we are causing harm to ourselves by our own hands. So government needs to do a lot. Nigeria generally needs to do a lot.
All right, Daily Sun is here, and the lead story is confounding. The president says, I almost quit 2023 presidential race.
Well, I think many people will not agree with Mr. President.
But there are some writers here.
Will not agree.
President reveals pressures, frustrations he faced, defends Tijani's appointment as minister despite past
there are usually frustrations. But why I say many people will not agree with the president is that when you juxtapose it with the concept of Emiloko, you will not agree with the president that he ever contemplated not running. He had prepared himself to run. He said it was his turn, it was his tenure, it was his turn, and he was ready to run. He ran, he won, and he's leading. So I do not agree with Mr. President. I agree that he faced challenges. Yes, the challenges and the pressures are still there, and I want to encourage him to keep up, keep up the good work.
Yeah, but just to add, you are not contemplating going to court.
No. It's not a tortuous one that will take me to court.
Yeah, not as you people say, not actionable.
Not actionable.
Okay.
Not actionable.
All right, Urumi killings. Don't attack non-indigens. Sanusi Gumi plead. Kano sends delegation to Edo.
It is important that they do, and most important that they don't attack the Igbos. Because anywhere there is infraction like this, the Igbos become the victims. They are the ones, the four guys. They are the ones who have the shops. They are the ones who are exposed to such attack. And then they should know that Uromi, even though it's in the south, Uromi is not in Igbo land. And even if you want to say it was done in the south, reprisal is never constitutional. Reprisal is never tolerated. So it behoves on the leaders of the north to impress, especially the religious leaders, to impress it on the people to hold on, and also for government to take action. Because if government fails to take action, then the spirit of self-help will now be ignited. Yeah. So it's important. And then the Igbos themselves should be cautious. Not to generally be cautious. In the manner of speaking. My people say they know that they are always the victims whenever things like this happen.
My people say when you talk to the kite that steals chickens, you talk to the mother hen
at the end of the day. So it's important that they didn't cause it, but they should be cautious because before you know it, they say one market is burnt. They should not do that. We must pass that era because these are things that bring disunity in the land.
And disquiet.
Yes.
Okay. I took the word from the next story. Disquiet in police over marginalization of Southeast, South in commissioners of police posting.
Jones, if you see what is going on at the highest level in the land, you will be sorry for this country. The level of marginalization some people face in Nigeria. Some on account of tribe, some others on account of religion, others on account of one primordial issue or the other. And we keep saying that we cannot build an efficient country if we drop merit and cling to some of these primordial issues.
And cleavages. Fred, but the Police Service Commission, PSC, is saying we don't favor any zone. You don't believe it?
That's what they will say.
Okay.
The statistics will tell you whether they do or whether they favor or they don't.
All right.
It's not by word of mouth, it's by statistics.
All right. Minor pieces include NDLEA arrests Italy-based businessmen over illicit drug.
NDLEA currently is doing a good job.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I had a matter, let me say this publicly now.
Okay.
I had one matter that involved NDLEA. The speed with which the chairman, the executive chairman of that agency, attended to my matter, I was so impressed.
Okay.
I can never stop applauding Marwa and his team for doing a good job. I can never stop. And I want to encourage him to continue and to cascade it down to the least person in their organization. And for other agencies to go and learn how a public organization will attend to public issues. NDLEA is a very good example.
All right. There's a sad story here. Nigerian boxer collapses, dies in ring during fight.
It's so sad.
Took place in Ghana.
It's so sad. And when I had that news, the first thing that came to my mind was I went into the assessment of our own healthcare facilities. Are you sure the young man was given adequate medical check before he went in? Are you sure?
I hear he was leading on points.
You know, are you sure?
Until a punch came.
It wasn't the punch. I watched it. It wasn't the punch. It was a heart attack. More or less. It was something that a layman like me can call a sudden bout of heart attack. But where it worries me is we need to know whether he had adequate medical advice before he went into the ring.
Or for that matter, if he was healthy for the fight.
Enough for the fight.
All right. Fred, share this with me. Parliamentary government. You know the House of Reps is floating that. Reps propose election of president from Senate, Prime Minister from House of Reps. More like when the French say, the more things change, the more they remain the same.
I think the House of Reps are becoming very experimental. The guys there, their blood, they're hot. You know, they are becoming. The other day they said they are thinking of removing the immunity from executives. They ran back. The other time they said they want to experiment. Yes, it's good. It shows that their mind is working, but they should know that the present state that we are, there are certain things you cannot torpedo. All right.
Okay.
If you do so, it will drag us many years back. We should be talking about anything that will restructure this country along through fiscal federalism that will bring progress and healthy competition.
Because we can do it.
Because we can do it. And even with the current 6 geopolitical zones that we have, I expected them to think in that direction, but they don't seem to be doing so. And some of those other things that under the constitution that will bring progress, they are not looking in that direction. They want to start new experiments that will upset the apple cart.
So for you, essentially, it's a federal house of experimentation.
But that is what they are trying to turn themselves to. But they should know that such experiment is taken easy because government does not turn on the bed the same way a human being turns.
Yeah, it's a different ball game.
Completely.
Okay, the Vanguard is here, and the lead story is this: Uromi killings. CDS, that's Chief of Defense Staff, CAN, Christian Association of Nigeria, PFN, Pentecostal Federation, seek justice for victims. And why not?
Why not?
And as Sanusi, these are the writers, Sanusi warns Kano youths against reprisal. Kano sends delegation to engage Edo government. Ukwebolo, that's Delta State, suspends security chief. Perpetrators must face justice. I agree. Nigerians should feel safe in all regions.
That is most important. Nigerians should feel safe in all regions. Because that is what there is freedom of movement. There's freedom to reside anywhere you feel comfortable with. Nigerians should feel safe. But such movement should not be accompanied by ammunitions, unguarded ammunitions. Those are part of the challenges that we have. So while you move, don't move with ammunitions, because that will now begin to qualify your freedom of movement.
It will raise a lot of eyebrows. Yeah.
That may lead to unwanted circumstances.
Red flags.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. What about this? 118 die of Lassa fever in first quarter of 2025 alone.
So you can imagine that. It's a sad story.
Okay.
It's a sad story.
Eid al-Fitr, Tinubu, Atiku, Obi, governors, CAN, preach peace, unity, tolerance.
We need them absolutely now, more than ever. Peace, unity, tolerance.
Reps committee recovers 21.4 billion naira from oil and gas firms.
Yeah, that is the 14, I guess that's the
$14 million.
that we
Yeah.
earlier talked about.
Okay, Nigerians to pay more for petrol amid domestic disputes, crude oil hike.
Every dispute, whatever the government is doing, whether at the level of corporate governance and all that, they must put in context the welfare of Nigerian people. Knowing that anything that has to do with petrol is so sensitive that any touch on petrol will affect the general prices in the economy.
Yeah.
So I want to urge government and all the players in the industry to be human. I remember that Nigerians are already suffering. They should not add to the suffering in the land.
Rivers State, now let's go there. Rivers sole administrator dismantling Fubara structures, PDP alleges.
Well,
and again, Emiaso, a retired judge, says Tinubu was wrong to release Rivers allocation to the sole administrator. That debatable?
That's very debatable because was wrong in releasing. So what will now happen if it's not released?
Yeah.
What will
what
will happen to the system? All the civil servants that are working that have nothing to do with politics, health, education, and all those critical infrastructure and the critical welfare of the people. How will it run? In the first instance, yes, we have said and we will keep saying it that it was not good enough for the democratic structure to be collapsed by the state of emergency declaration. But now that it has come and further accentuated by the parliament, the next thing is to go to court. I'm happy that the governors have gone to court, and that is the Supreme Court, because it's now a case between the states and the federation. So which the Supreme Court has original and sole jurisdiction to handle. And let us see what the Supreme Court will do. And I hope that they make some pronouncement before the end of the first 6 months.
All right then. The last but not least paper is the New Telegraph. The lead story. Reps recover additional $14 million from oil firms. What we just talked about.
Yes.
How about this? Eid al-Fitr, show love, compassion to the vulnerable, Tinubu tells Muslims.
It's very important, and others should also learn. The humanity in Nigeria, like we said earlier, needs to be improved. It has gone so low, you know.
Fred, what tickles my fancy here is not many people would be ready to remember that Mr. President and Vice are Muslims.
Yes.
So we saw it was a Muslim ticket.
Yes.
It didn't really matter.
Well, it didn't really matter, even though it mattered in political circle. But after the election, it really doesn't matter anymore.
Mine is we have been there.
It really doesn't matter anymore because what is now important is good governance and improvement of life and welfare of the people.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. This one. Akpoti Uduaha, recall process costlier than normal election, according to INEC.
Of course it will be.
You believe it?
Yes, of course it will be. Okay, look at where they brought about 250,000 names and the address that they need to be verified one after the other. That's a huge job for INEC.
And the speed was confounding.
Very confounding speed. I mean, so they are creating a lot of work for INEC. And even at the end of the day, INEC will still have to go and conduct a referendum. It doesn't end there. Conduct a referendum, and such referendum may even be subject to litigation at the end of the day if anybody feels that it was not well conducted. So they are just creating an extra stress for INEC, and let's hope that INEC will be able to handle it well.
Yeah, Fred, there's a little room here for Donald Trump's America. He says he couldn't care less about higher car prices.
Higher car prices.
Based on his tariff.
On his tariffs. Well, that's not. Well, he couldn't care less, but any leader who doesn't care about things that affect his people, his leadership will now be called to question. And I read somewhere that Donald Trump is also mooting the idea of a third term.
A third term, yeah.
And I told myself,
he says there's a way of going about it. Wonder where he got.
I now told myself that this now means that nobody has monopoly of madness. So
of daring.
Oh no, of daring. Monopoly of political madness. So the same thing that is in Africa has crept into America. I guess America under Donald Trump is very far from Africa.
Well, Fred, when Trump, his mantra was America first.
Yes.
Anything was going to come.
Yes, but not.
You remember his first coming? President Trump ordered the dropping of the MOAB, mother of all bombs, on Afghanistan. You remember?
Yes, yes.
And he has threatened to bomb Iran if he does not play ball regarding nuclear weapons.
Those are on the realm of international politics. But to begin to imagine third term, I mean,
too early in the day.
Oh no, Jones. It shows that we are all human. We are all human. Nobody is a super. Nobody is a ghost. Nobody is a spirit. And nobody is a superstar. The same way there are mad leaders in Africa who think of Tit-Sat syndrome. That means such a syndrome has also crept into America. The doing of international democracy.
They are United States of America.
Yes.
Okay. That will do it on newspaper headliners today. We want to thank you for watching, but then go get a copy of your favorite paper and paper. Sort the stories. Give context to those stories. Don't rely on gut feeling, as we say. Thank you, Fred and Zako, for your time.
Very thanks.
So we're done. Thank you. Until the next time. Bye-bye.
And you have raised our leaders. As we gather as one people before you this day, come among us and move in your power over this nation, Nigeria, of truth and justice, so that all our dealings with one another, we may show forth love and unity and conceit. This we pray through Jesus Christ.
Thank you very much.
Guide us to the right path, the path of those whom you favored, not of those who are in your anger, nor of those who go astray. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Rabbana la tu'akhidhna in nasina aw akhta'na. Rabbana wa la tahmil alayna isran kama hamaltahu ala alladhina min qablina. Rabbana wa la tuhammilna ma la taqata lana bihi wa'fu 'anna waghfir lana warhamna anta maulana fansurna 'ala al-qawmi al-kafirin. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. We ask Allah.
Igbo kelenu, Nigeria kelezuono. Indulgence that I have to understand any other language. Biko n'aha ndị Igbo niile n'ebe a na aha ndị Igbo ma ndị iwu ndị isi anyị ọda ndị ọzọ kwụsị ndị isi anyị former governors ma na-ebu ihe anyị bịara onye isi ahụ kwana onye isi nke chiburu anyị mbụ na Nigeria wụ General Chief Olusegun since I do not understand Igbo. But one thing you have to credit me with. At one time when I was campaigning, suddenly they said to me that I do not like Igbo. And the rumor started gathering momentum. I was wondering how I would handle the rumor. I went to Igbo land, and I went with my son, who was the product not only of my liking Igbos, but of my loving Igbos. And I told him, after we have had the public campaign outside, I met the leaders of thought, and I said, I do not know how this mischievous campaign started. So I took my son and I said, come on, speak to them in Igbo. And he did. Now, I believe that this caller will have to go to Igbo elders. And not only because it is the tradition and the culture. And Emeka, I want to thank you especially for bringing this aspect of our culture and tradition today. And maybe I will have more to say about our tradition and culture when we talk about democracy later.
Eze Chidome Okoro, you know so?
Dịka onye isi anyị gọvanọ anyị kwuru, ọjị anaghị anụ asụsụ ọzọ na-abụghị asụsụ Igbo. Ọjị wụ ihe anyị na-eji ekpe ekpere, wụ ihe anyị na-eji anyị na ndị nna nna anyị ndị mmụọ niile na-eji eme mkpakọrịta. Gị nye onye ugwu ọjị ya taa ọjị immediately, ọ ga-egbu oge. Mana ndị ụmụnne anyị ndị Yoruba ha na-akụ ọjị, mana n'ala Igbo anyị ga-eji ọjị ekpe ekpere.
The protocols have been heavy, but also our celebrant and his dear wife have not been introduced. So let me start by introducing our celebrant, His Excellency Right Honorable Emeka Ihedioha, and his lovely wife, Ebere Ihedioha, Her Excellency. Indeed, I want to speak very briefly about a young man. I say young, he's still young at 60. But let me speak very briefly about a young man who I met well over 30 years ago. Right Honorable Emeka Ihedioha, as it were, was a very young, energetic, dynamic man when I met him way back in 1992. At the time I met him, he was a very young bachelor and had graduated from university and had started work in the National Assembly. Emeka was one gentleman that was easily recognizable, not because of his stature, not because of his complexion, but because of his energy. Emeka was one man who was all over the place, all the time. And that endeared him to myself and several others. So we had this young, dynamic man who indeed, as it were, had a bright future ahead of him. But at that particular time, he was just a young boy who had become an assistant to the Senate President. But after the very short-lived tenure, Emeka continued with his vision and his focus. Emeka had a great vision, first as a media person, and he started a company called First Page Communications. And he was, if you understand Emeka, you know Emeka, you'll understand that this is one gentleman who very few people can contain. Emeka was uncontainable even then. And one day Emeka came up to me, because Emeka and I became like family and brothers. Emeka came up to me and said he wanted to get married. And I said, oh really? At this age? You know? In fact, I would say that when I met his beautiful wife, Ebere, she struck me as just the right thing for this gentleman that had uncontrollable energy. Ebere was a very quiet, very humble woman, young lady then, very tall, very elegant, dark-skinned, Emeka fair-skinned. You know, just two opposites in character and in everything else. And I said, glory be to God. Emeka has someone that can contain him. Ebere is the exact opposite. But the beauty of Ebere is that in her quietness is great strength. And sometimes my friend and brother Emeka needs to be controlled. And the best person to manage Emeka at any point in time is Ebere. And so for me, I want to celebrate both of them. Emeka has grown, as it were, over the years, but not just by the grace of God, but and not just by accident. Emeka is a man who I have learned lessons from. Emeka is one man who is intentional, extremely intentional. He sets his eye on a goal, and his commitment to achieving it knows no bounds. He's a gentleman who, at every point in time, would set out to achieve something that appears unattainable. But along the way, because of his commitment, his resilience, and his energy, Emeka would always achieve his vision. He is the right man to have beside you at any given time. In any political war, it's better you have Emeka on your side than on the other side. And so, for me, I've seen this, what I call a young man, when he told me he was turning 60. And he said, oh, I'm turning 60 in March. And I said to him, really? What are you doing about it? And he said, really, I haven't thought about it. I said, really? You're turning 60? And you haven't thought about it? So I started making a few suggestions. And that is how we ended up here today. But I want to say a few other things, because I don't want to talk too much about Emeka's politics. We all know about him. And it won't be right for me to focus on that. But we're going to also have a documentary that's going to be presented immediately after I speak. After which we'll invite the chairman to make his comments. If the documentary, is that an issue or? It's not yet ready. Oh, okay. Well, no documentary yet. Okay. All right. Good. So, but before we get to that point, please, let me also speak about Emeka, the family man. Emeka has 4 beautiful children. And they are the focus of his life. And, of course, the focus of Ebere's life as well. He has 3 sons and a lovely daughter. And I always find it so fascinating that in the midst of all the activities, in the midst of everything that Emeka has on his plate at any given time, he always finds time for his kids and his family. So, his wife, who is the real mother hen, controls that section. She warns all of us, do not, you politicians, do not expose my children. I don't want my children exposed to what you guys do. And so today I'm exposing them with your permission, madam. We need to know about this man we call Emeka. And that is my own mission. Not just to talk about his political career and his accomplishments, but indeed the human being and the fine father and gentleman that Emeka Ehedio is. So it's on that note that I have the honor and the pleasure to recognize and invite the chairman of this occasion, the former president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, a man who I'd say it's superfluous to try and introduce him. My boss.
He has become a bishop because of me, so that I can get to the kingdom of God. Well, you will forgive me if among governors, former governors, attempted governors, I will also recognize Peter Obi, So let me now come back to Emeka. Emeka, I felicitate with you on this day. And I listened attentively to what Leal has said about you. And all I will say to that is that I concur. And why didn't you say it publicly so that they can hear? Why are you whispering into my ears instead of saying, bring the telephone close to your mouth so that everybody can hear you? Now that you have said it, what is more? You said so that I will not be angry. What is to make me angry if you are correcting me correctly? But let us have a wonderful day. You said to me we will start at 10 o'clock so that we can end at about 1 o'clock because of those who are fasting. And I don't want to take too much of your time, except to say that this is a day that we are all happy to be here with you, to celebrate with you, and to share the joy of this day with you. The little about you is that you are a determined man. There's no perfect human being. But the little also that I know about you, you are almost a perfect human being. Again, the little I know about you, you take things as they come. And you are unperturbed by even the seeming and apparent injustice when they come to you. For me, I will do everything to be here with you today, and you know that. And I'm really happy to be here with you. And you have chosen for discussion, which again, I believe, is an indication of your mind, of what you believe for this country. You have chosen for discussion democracy. Is it failing in Africa? Are we talking of democracy, or are we talking of Western liberal democracy? I will not preempt what Bishop Kuka will be saying. But when we talk of democracy, we should remember that in Africa, before the colonial rule and the colonial power, we have a form of government which attended to the needs of our people. And whatever you call it, to me, it is democracy. Because what is democracy about? American President Abraham Lincoln defined it as government of the people, by the people, for the people. Democracy is meant to be a system of government that delivers, and delivers to all the people, not just a section of the people, not just a few. But what do we have today? I believe since we gone past the Greek democracy, which brought everybody to the square, and everybody has a say in the decision making, which affects everybody, or which affected everybody. Democracy has now become representative democracy. And representative democracy has not taken care of everybody. Today we have democracy, which is government of the people, of small number of people, by a small number of people, over large number of people who are deprived of what they need to have in life. Now that is not democracy that will endure. So if you are talking of democracy failing in Africa, democracy in Africa has failed. And why has it failed? Because it didn't have any, in context and in content, it's not African. It does not have any aspect of our culture, our way of life, what we stand for, what we believe, Ubuntu. I am because we are. It is I am because I can grab. What sort of democracy brings you and you grab everything and then illegally, corruptly, and you say go to court? When you know that even in the court you cannot get justice. So if democracy is not that democracy is failing, democracy is dying. And if we are going to make democracy not to die, we have to look at democracy in the context and in the content of Africa. I hope that we will get to that stage so that democracy which will deliver will be the democracy that we will have in Africa. Thank you.
Called the delusions about democracy, and I think there are a lot of people who are here. Many of you have understood the theory of democracy, and my friend and brother Dr. Kayode Fayemi, who has done both the practical and the theoretical and so on. And I'm happy that President Obasanjo made reference to Athens, because many of us, when we talk about democracy in Athens, we have certain illusions about what this democracy was all about. And indeed, if you pose the question, is democracy failing in Africa? The question to ask is democracy passing anywhere? Is there any part of the world that democracy is successful in? You know, Leo Tolstoy once said that all happy families are happy in the same way, but all unhappy families are unhappy differently. So while democracy may be working, we pretend that it's not working. And President Obasanjo made the point, but it is successful, it is working for many people. Because we can see from the changes in their lifestyle, the measurable changes in their accounts, the measurable changes in the opportunities available to them. So for those people, democracy is working. For those who may have failed and are still waiting, democracy may still work. But even in Athens, not everybody was at the square. Children were not in the square, women were not in the square, poor people were not in the square. And of course, the notion of representative democracy is because all of us cannot be in the same. But even if all of us are in the same room, I tell people, even if you go to Harvard, then they fail exam for Harvard. You go to Cambridge, some people they fail. So we can, even if we are in one room, not only our view is different, our capacities and our competencies are different. Now, if you look at what happened in the United States of America, from where we draw a bit of inspiration, from the point of view of our own democracy, is that American democracy and what is now European democracy drew from the thinking of such prominent philosophers like Thomas Hobbes and John Locke. Thomas Hobbes grew up in England at a time in which there was war. And he was a man who grew up in mortal fear because he fled, went to France when things changed. And indeed, Thomas Hobbes says that his twin brother was fear. And as a result, he conceived of a notion of a state. Because the whole question was what he called the state of nature. That is, state of nature is a state in which there is no sovereign and no government. And the idea is, what will a perfect government look like? And because of the history, the culture, where he grew up and how he grew up, he lived in mortal fear. And he therefore argued that for democracy to thrive, or for any system of government to be just, fair, and equitable, it had to be of such a nature that he had what we call a leviathan, that is a sovereign, that will have literally all the power, will aggregate all the powers. We call them dictators now. But his idea was that if we gave one person so much power, in exchange for that, he will look after all of us. And so he believed that left on our own devices, we as humans, we get bestial. That's why he came up with those 3 words. That in a state of nature, life will be nasty, it will be brutish, and it will be short. Now, John Locke, who was a far more influential philosopher, political philosopher, was a medical doctor in Oxford. And then he had his own problems. He fled to the Netherlands. But he finally came back. And because of the circumstances that he grew up in, lack of freedom, he was persecuted in Oxford and other places, but he grew up cherishing certain ideals, some of which underpin the philosophy of what led to the foundation of the United States of America. Because that is why when you read John Locke, he talks about key issues: liberty, freedom, religious freedom, limited government. And his argument was that unlike Thomas Hobbes, we shouldn't transfer power to a sovereign and hope that he will look after us all. Well, no. John Locke believed that each and every one of us, created in the image and likeness of God, requires just a space to be able to exercise their freedom. And so he agitated for what he called limited government. And he focused on natural rights, rights that are given to us and they inherit on us as human beings. The quality and quantity of rights that in 1948 became the United Nations Human Rights Declaration. He focused on private property. Every individual had a right to own their own property. Feudalism does not believe that ordinary people can own their own property. So what he had as a social contract argued that citizens are actually free to rebel. And he argued for separation between church and state. And his argument was that if at the end the sovereign is unable to do what he has promised or is elected to do, then he deserves to go. Now, when the Americans founded what is now the United States of America, all of you remember the 1776 Declaration. And I read part of it. Because remember that those who founded America were Christians who fled from Europe. And at that time, the Catholic Church had a lot of power. And that is why up till today, the United States of America remains quite suspicious. And has literally tried to close the door to the entrance of Catholics into the presidency of the United States. So after John Kennedy, it took how many years? Then Joe Biden. All of this grew out of the fact that the founding fathers of America focused on the fact that the inspiration that they derived from John Locke. So in the 1776 Declaration, it says, and I read it out to you. It says, when in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bonds which have connected them with another, that is, the bonds that connected them to the United Kingdom, and to assume among the powers of the earth a separate and equal section of the laws of nature, they are entitled to a decent respect to the opinions of mankind, that it requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. And he says, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. And among these are the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Which is that by whichever way you spell it, in whichever language, the central basis and tool for legitimating democracy, why we have chosen democracy, is like Churchill said. Churchill said democracy is the worst form of government except for others. Because others have been tested, they've been tried, but they've been found wanting, because only democracy entitles citizens to be able to pursue happiness. How they define that happiness, how they aggregate that happiness is purely up to them. And then to secure this rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, when a government becomes destructive to the principles that have been initiated, it is the right of the people to alter and to abolish it and to institute a new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing powers in such form as to them shall most likely be the effect of safety and happiness. But then he says, prudence and indeed we dictate that governments long established should not be changed for the light and transient causes. Now, when the American Constitution was written in 1787, it was ratified in 1788, and then finally came into operation in 1789. But guess what? Even with that document, with all the aspirations, the point still remained that the same constitution did not include black people. In fact, the American Constitution was written for white property men. Okay? Even if you were white and you were poor, you were not included in that constitution. If you were a woman, you were not included in that constitution. If you were a slave, you were not included in that constitution. But here it is, because there's a lot of debate in Nigeria about this constitution is imperfect, we want a new constitution. The point of the fact is that no constitution can be better than either the Holy Quran or the Holy Bible. Yet we are still living in sin. So it's not so much the content of the document. There is nothing like a perfect document, a perfect constitution. Even a constitution in its malfunction form can still be a tool. It's a question of what is in the heart and what do you think about other people. But then, the Americans were quick to rectify their constitution. And within a 5-year period, now in 1865, they decided to amend the constitution, the 13th Amendment. And the 13th Amendment abolished slavery. So America realized we couldn't continue like Abraham Lincoln would say, have this and have that. Then, after slavery was abolished, black people were still not part of the system. So then in 1868, there was the 14th Amendment. That 14th Amendment conferred rights on citizens across board. And you know, the problem with Nigeria is that we've refused to resolve the issue of bishop, but there have been no opening prayer. There will be no opening prayer. So for me, this whole thing about Christian prayer and Muslim prayer, so it just confuses people. But this is why Nigerians continue to dig and dig and dig. And they say if you are digging and you realize it's too deep, stop digging. It's not about stopping religion, but it's about the weaponization and instrumentalization of religion, because we are just reinforcing our identity. Why will it be the case that somehow somebody in your time, because the person you are calling your enemy, he stole from you, he didn't steal from God. So if you go to report him, God will say, this is my son and this is my daughter, so face your problem. But common citizenship then became important. It was not enough to end slavery. What are our rights as citizens? And then at the end, the 15th Amendment in 1870 now conferred on black people and everybody the right to vote. But here is the interesting thing. Women is not only now that your problem started. Because even at that time, black people were allowed to vote. Black men were allowed. The point I'm making is that democracy is a work in progress. And with all these imperfections, it must be admitted that the essence, that is why Democrat friend Donald who made the point. He said that the problem in Nigeria, everybody who comes as governor wants to go back to the bottom of the hill to start something completely different. If we do not have a mechanism by which we are measuring our growth, then our chest for a democratic society becomes an empty chest. His name is Kostika Bradatan. And the title of his article is Democracy is for the Gods. Democracy is for the gods. And his argument is that in reality, when we talk about justice, Jesus used to say, when we talk of justice, has anybody ever seen justice walking on the streets? Because everybody wants justice. The criminal wants justice, the victim wants justice. And justice, I used to say, for justice to really be effective, it has to be justice is a three-way street. That we are mere mortals. And that a perfect democracy first doesn't exist, because for it to exist, it has to be by a perfect God. And that the notion of equality is an oxymoron, because there's nothing like, there's no rule of measuring equality. If you go to the National Assembly, the senators are all senators, but they say there are ranking senators. Ranking senators. No matter your competence, you have to fall behind those who have come before you. So this is the kind of society we are living in. Why is it that we kneel down to greet some people and we stand to greet other people? Why is it that we're saying rank and to other people and then we are not? This is the reality we are in. However, the point to make is that democracy and its principles are an endless contestation, both of ideas, of opportunities and privilege. Because those who are privileged want to hold on to their privileges. And those who are the victims want to insist that life can be better. But in the final analysis, Matthew chapter 1, Father, we have got only one Father. The only problem with us in Nigeria is that if you are discriminating against me because I'm a Muslim or that I'm a Christian or whatever, we are children of one God. And if we are not treating one another right, philosopher Abraham Maslow came up with a theory which is a common theory. You can Google it. It's called the hierarchy of needs. And that all of us want the same thing. Simply because we are president, you still want to breathe. Called physiological needs. That is needs that come to us because we are human, such as the quality of air we breathe. Even though in Africa, even though we are in a democracy, there are certain people who behave all these tall people. Well, no matter how tall you are, whether you are tall or short, you can still see the sun, and nobody sees that any civil servant anywhere in the world. Okay, so the civil service became an attractive place. Compare it with our situation in Nigeria. Somebody wants to marry your daughter now, and the man appears. He says, "My name is so and so. I work in MAMSA. I work in National Orientation Agency." You look at the man, National Orientation. Okay, it's no longer about. So the guy has gone away. Then another person comes and says, "Maybe your daughter doesn't really like the man." The man said, "My father is a senator in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It's better for your daughter to marry system to deliver on the principles of democracy." It's not out of bad and end, because I still have a few things, but let me try and see if I can end. The question then is, how do we measure democracy? Democracy hangs on principles such as, for example, democracy promises cultural and religious freedom. That's why the First Amendment of the American Constitution, First Amendment, was to insert the freedom of religion and freedom of speech and freedom of the press. You cannot hope to be in a democracy if the media does not have the opportunity to do its job. Okay? The second point is, the essence of democracy is the defense of human rights, anchored on the principles of equity and fairness. Justice Oputa, again, he was my father. I learned so much from him. I've been lucky, a very lucky Nigerian. Thanks to President Obasanjo in many respects. But he used to tell us a joke. He said, somebody went to London, and then the man got to London. He was saying, "I want to go to the, please," he saw a cleaner. He said, "I want to go to the High Court of Justice. Where is the way?" The man said, "Look, go all the way. Just keep going. You turn right, turn left, then you see the High Court." We worry, and I hear Nigerians every day we are convinced that what is wrong with our country is that we have a justice system that is not working. I feel sorry for the people who are judges. I really do. Because during these elections, even me, I had people calling me. And classmates are on her neck. Everybody who went to the same university is on her neck. Priests are on her neck. Imams are on her neck. Emirs are on her neck. To deliver what? To deliver justice. The only election that is fraudulent in Nigeria, in our calculation, is the one that my man didn't win. But the one that my man won, we will find all the reasons in the world to justify it. I agree that there is urgent need for us to clean up the system. But look at what has happened in other places. There's a man, many of you remember Thurgood Marshall. Marshall was a fantastic judge. And he was one of those who struggled for human rights for black people. Now, he wanted to get him into the Supreme Court, because this is where political will is important, and the methods by which we recruit people into public life. Now, please excuse me. This is what happens. I do. A president, a governor, there are signals that people in authority must send out. When George Bush decided to appoint Colin Powell as the president, as the chairman, joint chief of staff, he was sending out a message. He was the first black man. But that also gave a sign of where he was going and where he was placing black people. You have to follow that trajectory before you come to Condoleezza Rice, before you come to other people and then come to Obama. So as I'm standing here now, I come from Southern Kaduna, and my brother, General Musa, his appointment, women stop pounding in Southern Kaduna, we have to stop. President Obasanjo is here. One day he went to, I'm sure he remembers, when General Agwe left the army, so he organized a Thanksgiving. President Obasanjo went. And then as I was driving in, he was going out. So I didn't say anything to him. Later on, I called him because he was going to my village to condole the wife of a former minister, my best friend. So when I called him later on at night, I said, sir, I saw you. He said, yes, okay. I said, I really want to thank you. He said, thank me for what? He said, no. Thank you for General Agwe. And thank you for appointing General Luka. Both of them are from Southern Kaduna. And President Obasanjo said to me, what are you thanking me for? You can't hear me? Okay, let me tell you a joke that I told last week. You know, one pastor, only we in the Catholic Church, when people want to get married, it takes them about 6 months of preparation. We send out bands to wherever they have been. So there was this, but in the Protestant churches, I don't know whether, but what they do is these people want to get married. If anybody in this congregation knows why they cannot get married, please come forward and tell us. So, but in this particular case, people who were standing, bride, everybody all dressed up. So if anybody knows why James and Teresa cannot get married, please step forward and tell us. If not, forever keep quiet. So everybody, of course, nobody always gets up because people are already prepared for enjoyment. Why, even if you know something, you keep your mouth shut. But all of a sudden, they turn in the church and saw one woman heavily pregnant, carrying a child and pulling another child. She was walking towards the pastor. So everybody began to panic. The bride saw this woman coming. She decided to start running from and crying. So the woman walked all the way to the pastor. So the pastor gave her a microphone. He said, those of us at the back there, we can't hear you. So, I'm sorry. So please let me. I'm sorry. Let me come back to what I was saying. Thank you. But a president or a governor must make Sinja Factory. They have not added one block where he died at Kaduna by both federal and state government. Okay? So when you hear us rejoicing, this is the first time somebody asked me in the Supreme Court of America. He wanted Thurgood Marshall, a black man, to enter the Supreme Court. For a black man to enter the Supreme Court for the first time. And he didn't know what to do. So what he did was he went to his friend, Justice Clark, helped him to campaign. So what he did was he now went and promoted the son of Justice Ramsey to position of Attorney General. After he made him Attorney General, Ramsey now realized that it would be foolish for him to remain in the Supreme Court while his son is Attorney General. And because in the American Supreme Court, you stay until you die, or you say you don't want again. Even if you are on a wheelchair, you still remain, because it's for life. And it was when Justice Ramsey came out of the Supreme Court that Thurgood Marshall got a place. The point I'm making is that democracy is about equity, is about justice. We all want the same things. And I want to end by asking, how do we know that a country is democratizing? We can know by the quality of, even a blind man can tell when it is raining. We don't need to preach about democracy. The question people should ask is, quality will come back. We wish this person will come back. The question, therefore, is whether we measure our democracy by the kind of things we want for ourselves. There was something I was going to say, and I will just read it out. If you, Osita, thank you very much. And I'm not likely to miss my flight because President Obasanjo has promised to give me a ride. There is a writer, his name is Khalil Gibran. Some of you know about him. I quote what he said. He said, "Pity the nation that is full of beliefs but empty of religion. Pity the nation that wears a cloth it does not weave and eats the bread it does not harvest. Pity the nation that claims the bully as a hero." Finally, there is a nation. But you cannot be a president. You cannot be a president. You cannot govern this country without constantly engaging in mental reflection about what is happening elsewhere. So I recommend 5 books, if you are able to. One is Michael Pilbury, and it's a fantastic book. The title of the book is The 100-Year Marathon: China's Secret Strategy to Replace America as the Global Superpower. It's a fantastic book. But he talks about what we are seeing in China now. They started planning 100 years ago. Nigerian politicians must therefore understand that delivery of these services takes a while. The second is great power inside the political mind, the human side of politics and how it shapes development. And then one of my favorite, Moses Naim, The End of Power. Why being in charge is not what it used to be. And then a second book by him, The Revenge of Power, How Autocrats Are Reinventing Politics in the 21st Century. And by Yashak Monk, The People versus Democracy, Why Freedom is in Danger and How to Save It. And Levitsky and Ziblatt, many of you know this, How Democracies Die. What history reveals about the democratization of development. The democratization of development leads to the development of democracy. That is, if you decide to equitably democratize development and not take every institution, university, merit to your village, if you appreciate the fact that the poor people living on the hills, the poor people living across the river, they too didn't come to accompany you. So if we are honest enough to democratize development,
I knew that was going to come. The challenge is to not let go. So we have yes, no, yes, and no. Great. So you say it's not failing. Why do you congratulate the idea of this very auspicious celebration of your 16th birthday, Senior Nika, and your dear wife? I said no. How come? He did say that democracy is not in progress. And even from our own experiences here in Nigeria, government in, government out, from 1989 to date, democratically elected, we've seen how government handled near similar issues differently. So I'd like to say it has much to do with the operators of a democratic system at a given time. If they play by the rules and they follow due process, democracy works. If they do otherwise, of course, it gets up.
They started in 1999, laid the foundation. Some people came and took it to a decking, and some people were trying to raise it to first floor, and some people came and knocked everything down. That's the situation where we are now. Everything has been knocked down. Nothing works. And I'm somebody who can say this exemplarily. I became a governor through the court when President Obasanjo and Atiku were in government. And the court declared me winner when a governor is hosting them. It can't happen in Nigeria today. When I was being impeached, the president sent people to come and intervene on my behalf. Ken Namani came begging House people not to impeach me. Today, the president impeaches the person. So that is impeach me. And they were PDP. I was in Africa. And they were begging. President was calling me and said, Peter, are you okay? Even when I I was impeached, President Obasanjo called me and said, "Are you okay? Are you safe?" When I go back from the court, when court eventually declared me under Ndluba, President Yaraba, because if I come back, these people, he said, "Tell me the flight in which you're coming back." And I told him, when I came, it's the first time military people came to receive me at the airport. I couldn't believe it and took me straight to him. Now the president will ask me not to come back here again. So he failed.
I'm glad that my last respondent said yes and no. So hopefully we'll be able to see how we will balance it.
Yeah, I think we are looking at democracy within the context of Africa, not just Nigeria. And I listened to the speaker very well. He talked about the challenges, but I'll go even further. I don't know whether many of us were aware of the meeting last week in Qatar between the president of Rwanda and the president of the Democratic Republic of Congo over the war that has been going on there. But what I found very striking is how the two leaders will even meet. Because a few days before that meeting, that there was this report that he read somewhere that an Italian man, an Italian who lived in Belgium, said that when he was in Belgium, that the current president of Democratic Republic of Congo, Felix, was a driver for him, a delivery driver. He was selling pizza. That's according to President Kagame. So he said, the Italian man said, when I heard that Felix became the president of Congo, I laughed. Felix who couldn't deliver pizza. And I mean, it's the president of is President Kagame telling this story that you have a president in Republic of Congo, a man who was so incompetent in his early life that he couldn't deliver pizza. I don't think that story is true, but that's beside the point. The point really is that there are challenges for every country when it comes to management of politics. What the lesson for us is democracy is about serving the public good. It's not about the, that's why I agree to an extent with what His Excellency said. It's a work in progress. But I also agree with what we have to look at both sides, the challenges as well as the prospects, and the role we can play to make this democracy better. That's what I will say for now.
So where would you say that it is failing? If you say that it is failing,
no,
because
the problem really is not with the movement. That brings to us the road that it is about how do we ensure that the operators play by the rules. I think that for me is the critical issue.
Okay, I'm coming back to you now. I don't even know whether to say Right Honorable Tambuwal or to say Your Excellency. But I'm going to come back to you because you mentioned the operators. And I understand why, it would seem that the conversation is being localized. While I know that, the theme of the discussion we're having today is whether democracy is working in Africa. You have said democracy is working. There have been many times that we've talked about how democracy we need to, but there are those who have talked about homegrown democracy, Afrocentric democracy. I don't know whether, is it the nature of the definition of democracy that is the problem here in Africa? The operators not simply wanting to play by the rules.
Well, I believe I still would go back to the same point that even in Nigeria, it has more to do with the operators. I'll give you an example. Here in this room, seated, is former President Olusegun Obasanjo. Under his regime, state of emergency was declared in a number of states. The National Assembly, then we had Senator Anyim Pius Anyim as President of the Senate, and of course, Senator Kenny Imani and Senator David Mark. They all worked, and then of course Speaker Masani was also Speaker of the House of Representatives, Speaker Ete and Donko and myself at a point. We all ensured that 2/3 majority of members of both chambers passed the emergencies in those times.
By 2/3, each member had to vote.
Each member had to vote. And you know, the presidents in this same National Assembly, we have the same constitution in a way under Section 305. It has not been amended since the commencement of this democracy. We have our standing rules, and we have presidents. Emergency was declared in Plateau, emergency was declared in Borno and Yobe, and we stuck by the rules, and we are guided by the constitution. What happened in the last one? So I still insist that you need to check out the operators of the system.
I have asked that question because Bishop Kuka, when he was speaking, made reference to Lee Kuan Yew, and I know that you were in, is it Singapore or Thailand, very recently? Indonesia. Well, he was making reference to, trying to compare, the democracies in Africa and the democracy practiced in those countries. He made reference to Lee Kuan Yew, who was not exactly seen as a Democrat, and, the reasons were given. But it has been able to deliver. Today, everybody hails the Asian tigers. They talk about the job they're doing because at the end of the day, what do people really want? Is it to be able to conduct elections, or do they want their economy to be better? Do they want to feel safe in their countries? Do they want the dividends, so to speak, the freedoms that democracy assures? So that's why I asked that question about the type of democracy that we have. Do you think that we have really found the system that works for us?
Well, I wouldn't say to China 5 million people, but I'll compare ourselves to Indonesia. Indonesia is 280 million. And coincidentally, the country with the highest number of Muslims. We should look at their democracy. They have what we call proportional representative. That is what I've always championed. And with the past 3 years, conducted the election, had less than 30% of registered voters participate in the election, and they held it. Everyone was go and check from South Africa to Mexico to Indonesia. They were not less than 60%. Nigeria was 23% of registered voters. In that 23%, Nigeria is the only country where you can be declared a winner without receiving 50% plus one of the vote. Our own was 37%. And there's no proportional representation, which is why you can have opposition here. Because if you had that, what is said wouldn't have happened. There would have had about 34 members. We must change it and have proportional representative so that you're giving what you elected. That is how it works. And when we do that, go and see it in Indonesia. In Indonesia, President's party, not the but they have proportional representative, which brings proper checks and balances. Like he said, is the operators. That is why I said his argument showed that it's failing, because the operators now have failed it. That is
my former special assistant Chris Mama brought on board Emeka, and together they managed the Week magazine successfully until I went into exile. Ran into exile to the United States. Since then, Emeka and I have kept this relationship, and till today, I have found him extremely loyal, dedicated, and focused. Even though at one point in time we may find ourselves on different political divides, but we kept our relationship. And I think that testifies to the kind of person Emeka is. So let me use this opportunity. When he told me about this event, I was actually complaining. I said, Emeka, this is Ramadan, and then it is the last 10 days of Ramadan. And the last 10 days of Ramadan, we don't sleep in the night. We sleep during
Obasanjo, because I don't want any possibility
of their recalling my wife home. Well, my first words must be to congratulate the Right Honorable Emeka Ihedioha and his dear wife for reaching the significant age of 60. I dare presume that I'm probably the oldest person in this room. If there's anyone who is older than 92, let him raise his hand. Since I see no hand raised, I must continue as the oldest person in the room. My namesake, as I would call him in popular parlance, Emeka,